So when I first got into photography, my dad gave me my first tripod. It was this guy right here, the Gitzo G1220 Mark II. He had this just lying around because he had upgraded to a carbon fiber one. So yeah, this is aluminum. It's quite heavy, but you know, I used it for a couple of years and it served me well. Unfortunately, after some time, one of the legs started giving me some trouble as far as sliding in. I'm guessing one of the legs just kind of warped because I've taken this thing apart and tried to clean it and lube it, and it just doesn't want to work well. So it came time where I needed to look into upgrading and getting something new for myself that was lighter weight and a little bit more reliable than that. So when I started looking into tripods, my dad gave me one important piece of advice: buy nice or buy twice. Now generally that means you're probably going to be spending a couple of $100s when looking for a tripod. But what if you could buy something nice without breaking the bank? Guys, welcome back to the channel. So glad to have you here. Today, as you can tell by the title, I'm not here to talk about tripods, but I am here to talk about the monopod. Now, a monopod is something that I'm actually fairly new to. It's not something that I've ever needed to use. I've been a photographer now for going on 12 years, but when I first got my start, I was just shooting landscapes, and you know, something like the tripod was my go-to. When I finally got into shooting wildlife, I had moved on to the Micro Four Thirds system, shooting with the G9 and the 100 to 300. See, but now I've switched to just using the A6400 with this, the Tamron 50 to 400 millimeter. And I found that if I want to shoot something like short clips of video, I need a little bit of extra support. I didn't really want to carry a tripod. I don't really find myself sitting down and just waiting for something to happen. And if I do, I have a tripod. But I was watching a video from a wildlife photographer, Scott Keys, and he brought up monopods as his go-to support for shooting something like songbirds, which I absolutely love shooting. And right now it's beginning of April, so we're nearing spring migration, and I'm excited to get out there and shoot some songbirds. So I thought, yeah, maybe I'll look into using a monopod. Now, my dad had one laying around, an old Manfrotto. I don't have it with me here, unfortunately, but it was kind of on the big size. It was near about 2 feet long, even when fully collapsed, and it was just not something I wanted to carry around. It's not particularly heavy. It's aluminum, but it's still a monopod, so it's not going to be too heavy. But it was just too big. I didn't really want to carry something like that. But as luck would have it, a company called Manbily reached out to me and asked if I wanted to try out one of their monopods. So this here is the Manbily C-555L. It is a carbon fiber monopod, a 6-section leg here, and comes with a few goodies that actually make it quite appealing. Now, admittedly, when Manbily reached out to me, I was a little skeptical, primarily because I've never heard of them, just being honest. But I figured, you know what? Looking at the specs of this and considering this is exactly what I was looking for, why not give it a shot, right? I mean, the thing weighs just 0.92 pounds or 0.42 kilograms for those who live in the civilized world. And fully collapsed, as you can see, it is really small here. It is only 15.7 inches long. It is tiny, tiny. It's so lightweight. It's fantastic. Now, full disclosure, of course, though, Manbily did send me out this monopod for free in exchange for a review. However, they have no say whatsoever in the content of this review, so everything that I'm going to say about this is coming from me. They're not going to have any advanced copy of this video. They're going to be seeing it as soon as you can. Now, that out of the way, let's talk about what you get in the box. So of course, in the box you get the monopod itself, as well as a little wrist strap here, which I love. Gives you a little bit more extra support when holding on to it. Of course, it does come with a bag as well. This is just simply a lightweight neoprene bag. It's actually pretty nice, especially, again, considering the price point of this thing, which as of recording right now is, I think I looked at it last night, it was $55 on Amazon. So yeah, you get a nice little bag with it, but of course, like most photographers, I'm realistically not going to be using that. Also included with it is a walking stick, because not only is this marketed as a monopod, but it's also marketed as a walking stick. So this is a handle that can just screw right onto the top of the monopod here. So if you don't want to use it as a monopod, you can just use it as a walking stick. You just grip it that way. And there is actually a second means of screwing it on as well. So that way you can just screw it like this and I guess hold it like a traditional cane. Also on the monopod itself, it has a rubber cover here, and underneath that is a nice metal spike as well, which I will say even my Benro tripod did not include metal spikes with it. So nice addition here. And then lastly, what's included with it is a cell phone holder, which, I mean, these things are a dime a dozen. You find them in a lot of different accessories. You buy a cheap tripod, a cheap ball head. A lot of times you're gonna find some type of cell phone holder, but this one's actually kind of cool because not only does it have the typical 2 points here that you can connect it, but it also has a little foot built in. So you can just set this down and it can just stand like that. And also it has a cold shoe mount, which I actually think is pretty clever, because if you do want to record something on your phone and you still want to use an external mic, you can put it right here. Or if you want to use a video light or something like that. So nice little addition there. One thing to note though with the cell phone holder, please don't see this and think that this is just some chintzy lightweight monopod that can't hold anything. Quite to the contrary, this thing can actually support up to 15.43 pounds. So yeah, and I've actually put my weight onto it. It holds pretty darn well. The old Manfrotto one that I have, I think holds up to 6 or 8 pounds. I don't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, this thing is actually quite sturdy. Now also, it extends out to 66 inches, so you do get pretty good height on it. But unfortunately, when you do have it fully extended, you get a little bit of flex in the legs themselves. But of course, when you're dealing with a 6-section leg and you have a little tiny thin guy like this right here, you're typically going to find some flex regardless of the price point. Now, fortunately, because I'm only 5'6", ideally I like to slide this in a little bit more like this. And then once you do that, that flex almost goes away. But realistically, how much rigidity do you really need in a monopod, right? The thing's not staying still completely. If you want really rock solid stability, use a tripod. That's what those are for. As far as the build quality of this, I'm actually quite impressed. All right, this is made of 8 layers of carbon fiber. All of the hardware on here is machined aluminum with a nice rubber grip. And although I've never purchased a cheap tripod, I've definitely just played around with them, like at a store like Best Buy, or I've seen them at Target even, and they always have that really cheap feeling, like you know you're probably going to break this thing if you do too much with it. This doesn't really feel like it's cheap at all. It feels quite nice. You know, just holding this in my hand, it's kind of an equivalent feel to that of my Benro tripod. So really impressed with it. One thing I also like about it too is that all the legs just require a simple quarter turn to open them. Love the locks on it as well. I have a preference for the twist lock, so a nice aluminum lock on here as opposed to like a cheap plastic flip block that you often see on the cheaper ones. Now, as far as how I use it, I like to use it paired with this right here. This is my Benro B0. Now, if you saw my video about tripod heads, you'll see that I did feature this one here as one of the problematic heads that I had. But when used with this monopod, the big problem that I had with it, let me just screw this on here. The big problem that I had with this particular head was that if I wanted to move around a lot, sometimes you can see like right here, the knobs kind of get in the way of each other, so I can't really fully move it. But the way I use it with wildlife, because this lens has a foot on it, here, let me just see if I can pop this in here. There we go. I just pop this on the side here, keep this completely loose, and then I can just move around, pivot, and take shots like that, and nothing's getting in the way there. So really my big gripe with this particular head has no effect on this particular use. So yeah, this is like the ideal setup. As you can see here, when I'm using this with the A6400 and my 50-400 attached, it's perfectly balanced. I can just tilt it up and down, and it's not falling in any way. It's holding everything nice nice, and I just have, you know, complete freedom to be able to tilt up and down. And of course I just spin it in my hand. I don't have to worry about panning or anything like that. But the big thing I love about it is even with this head attached, it's still nice and small. It's compact. Total weight of this right here is 1.4 pounds. Hardly anything that you'll notice. And it straps really nicely to the side of my Urban Explorer, which is my go-to pack for when I want something smaller. Yeah, if you're looking for a monopod, but you're not looking to spend too much money, maybe it's not in your budget, maybe it's not something you're going to use all that often, I really believe that you'd be hard-pressed to find something better than this guy here for, you know, right around 50 bucks. Now, how do their tripods compare? I don't know. I haven't gotten my hands on one of those yet. Hopefully, maybe at some point I will. But I really can't speak more highly about this. This is just absolutely fantastic. Now, there are a couple of things I'm not a huge fan of, but honestly, this is really nitpicking. All right. So, as I mentioned, when you open up the legs here, all you have to do is just give it a quarter turn. All right, 1/4 turn here, and usually I would do these all in one swoop here, but just to really emphasize this, quarter turn and everything opens. But the problem is sometimes it can stick a little bit when closing it. Just give it just the tiniest little bit more turn and it goes right in. So for closing it, not a true quarter turn. So what, right? I mean, like I said, I'm really nitpicking here. And then the only other thing that I have to say about it is I don't know how many people are actually going to use this as a hiking stick instead of a monopod. But if you are, I'd say this handle could be a little bit longer, primarily because, of course, if you use the bottom mount here and you're going to hold it like this, as you can see, my hand is filling in this space here. Now, just being honest here, I have kind of small hands. Just runs in the family. So if you have larger hands, dare I say more normal, average sized hands, you're gonna have a hard time squeezing your hand in here. So you're gonna be holding it, I don't know, maybe your finger up here or holding it like this or something like that. This could be a little bit uncomfortable. But again, I don't know how often this is gonna be used. So yeah, I'm really nitpicking here. But I mean, if you're looking for a hiking stick, buy some trekking poles. If you want to use this maybe once in a while as a hiking stick instead of the monopod because you just already have this for the sake of using a monopod, cool. But yeah, this can be a little bit on the small side, whatever that's worth. But yeah, again, I'm very surprised as to how high quality this is. I've had this now actually for a little bit over a month. Manbily, I'm so sorry it's taken me this long to get a video out on it, but I wanted to really try it out. I wanted to put it through its paces. A lot of products, they feel great once you take it right out of the box. Unboxing videos, they're fun to watch, but you know, how does it stand up after it's been used? And I'm happy to report it stood up very well. Again, I'm thrilled with this thing. So if you are looking for a monopod, there are links in the description where you can pick one up. Yeah, big shout out to Manbily for sending this my way. Really appreciate it. Now that is going to be it for this week. If you found this video helpful and you want to see more photography related content, things related to tips, tricks, gear reviews, things like that, please do consider subscribing. It really helps the channel out a lot. And it also goes to show that I'm making the type of content that you want to see. But if you're not quite ready to subscribe, hey, that's okay. But if you still liked it, please consider hitting that like button. Still is going to help me a lot. But hey, that's it for now. Thanks for joining me. Now, when I first... I don't even know where I was headed with that.